I would like to ask for speech Mr. Janos Tamas Pap, and the topic of the presentation will be the impact of social media on democratic discourses. The floor is yours, sir.
Good day, everyone. My name is János Tamás Pap. I'm an assistant lecturer at the Hungarian Pázmány Péter Catholic University in Budapest. And today I'm going to talk about briefly the impact of social media on democratic discourses. This topic deals with the question of how social media is changing the way we think about democratic discourses and how it can affect democratic debates and how much power does these online platforms have on our society. Right now, I don't have to remind anyone that the influence of social media has really gone off, and it led to the transfer of global gatekeepers to some large global companies who in the traditional sense are not private operators of either the public or private media service providers. So they are the new gatekeepers for the information that we receive. The majority of people right now, especially the young ones, gather information via social media, and they only read the information that they are given, that they are presented. They don't really seek out any more information than they are receiving via these platforms. So this means that the social media companies are more and more in control of publicity and the democratic debates. And even if someone wants to have a debate or someone wants to control this narrative and they want to speak out, they usually use these platforms as well. So politicians, public figures are also using these platforms to communicate with the public. So we can say that the social media has become the most important platform of online discourses, and it can be fine because social media can be a really good thing, but the thing is that they are more and more acting like a government regarding free speech, because they are the one who decide what is allowed. They have these terms of conditions, which can be seen as a type of law, type of legislation in this realm. They are the ones who execute these powers, so they are the ones who act like as an executionary branch of power, that they are policing the content. And if you want to have a discussion, if you want to appeal against a decision, they are the ones who decide. So they are the judges of these laws as well. So kind of the three separate branches of power are considered in one hand. The question is why they can do this. The answer is that these magical words that we agreed, because when we registered on these websites, we all clicked that we are agreeing on these conditions. This is kind of a house party, because we are arriving at a house party which we were invited or not, depends on how brave we are. But when we arrive at the door, the host of this house party say that, okay, you can come in, but I don't know, you cannot drink from the fountain, you cannot go into my parents' room, and you have to take off your shoes. And you cannot say that, oh, no, I don't want to do this because these are my fundamental rights to go everywhere I want and to wear anything I want. And they say, okay, fine, but then you cannot come in to this house party. So this means that if we want to go into this house party, which is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and so on, then we have to agree to these rules, and then we are agreeing to do whatever they want, and we shall do what they want. So this means that these house party rules are governing these platforms, which is kind of okay for a certain level. But after a certain level, when these become these big, huge companies, it can be considered as a problem. But it's not just an agreement. When we click agree, we're signing a contract that is a legally binding contract. In a civil law, it's considered as a contractual relationship between us and the platforms. So legally, it's not just an agreement, it's a contractual relationship stating that they are saying what we can and we cannot do, and they are stating what they can and they cannot do. So this is a contract. This is the basis of all the operation regarding social media sites. This means that we have a private regulation, a contract-based private speech code, a private regulation of free speech based on these contracts. But these contracts are not based on principles of laws and I don't know, constitutional court decisions and so on, but rather the social sites' own experiences, their own agenda. And this is okay. Social media sites could have their own freedom of speech as well, but this could be okay in a perfect market when we can say, okay, I have these social media platforms with these type of values. They cannot allow me to say certain things. So I'm going to switch to another that can allow me to say some things. But it's not really the case, because these platforms have really monopolistic situations, really monopolistic powers in the market, because Facebook is the largest company regarding largest social media company with more, I don't know, 3 billion people, and we cannot name another one that has this many people on it, and we cannot choose really. We have to take it or leave it, these type of rules, and we cannot do anything about it. And also there's no an effective external control for democratic publicity, for democratic debates, whether or not we can say some things or not, whether or not they are moderating rightfully or not. This type of governance are based on two things. The first one is algorithms, and the second one is by moderation. The first one is when they are governing with algorithms, that means that they are controlling what people are seeing in their news feed. It is a necessary thing because there's too much content. You literally cannot see anything in a timeline, because there would be so much content that you cannot really see anything. So one type of filtering is needed for us to be able to use these platforms. But this filtering should be transparent, consistent, and free from interventions from these platforms. There are clear and known examples of censoring speech, censoring politicians and public figures, not by just deleting them or deplatforming them, but tuning the algorithms so that their posts are not reaching as many people as they should be. For example, this is yesterday's news that Instagram was censoring pro-Palestinian posts on their site. And so this is not just, I don't know, some kind of whining, oh, they are censoring, I don't know, the type of conservative speech and so on. So this is not a hypothetical thing. This is real, and they are agreeing on it, and they have admitted that they are tuning this type of thing. That this means that it is an invisible tool to manipulate public debates, because the user don't know if their news feed was being modified or not. They just know what they're seeing. The other thing is by moderation, and of course the most important example is Donald Trump, because after the Capitolium attack, he posted some things with these type of saying that we love you, you are very special, you are great patriots, and so on and so on. Because of this, Facebook has banned him for 24 hours, and later they banned all of these accounts forever, also on Twitter and YouTube and everywhere. And this is a really important thing, because a private company has censored an acting president of the United States. And of course, there could be a debate whether or not he deserved it or not, but the Facebook Oversight Board, which we have heard about it 2 presentations ago, decided this case and upheld the decision to suspend Donald Trump's accounts. But the board criticized that the nature of this suspension was indeterminate and standardless. So which means that there was no binding rule, there was nothing in the contract that allowed Donald Trump for the forever banned from these websites. This means that Facebook can make decisions even without the base of their contract, or even without the base of something written. And the Oversight Board upheld this decision, which can be questionable at least, but this is the state we have right now. What I'm arguing is that the frameworks laid down by these private regulations should be as close as possible to the basic rules of democratic publicity in every country and in every nation. Because if you slip in one direction or another, you already have a problem. Either we keep illegal content on these websites approved because their contractual relationship says that, okay, maybe it is an illegal in your country, but according to our rules, it is not. Or if we go out to the other side, it means that we exclude legal content from the most important forums of public discourse. So if, on the other side, Facebook can say, or Twitter or anyone can say that, okay, maybe it's illegal content, but we don't allow it, which is kind of censoring public debates, and it is really manipulating these public discourses. What can we do about it? Of course, there's a legal system in place, so it is not a digital wide west where everything stands. Libel, defamation, I don't know, data protection laws are all binding these things. I am talking about free speech issues. And these free speech issues are controlled by this magical contract. So what can we do about this contract? What can the state do about this contract? There are some people who say that we should call these platforms public forums, which means that they are places where public speech is so big and so many people use this as use of expressing themselves, that they should be considered as a public forum, which means that they are only can provide these type of forums, they cannot do anything about the speech, which is kind of risky, because public forums in real life, for example, parking spots or private shopping malls, are considered maybe public forums, but some say that they are not. So it is kind of risky to say that. The other thing which I'm debating, or which I'm suggesting, is that we have these type of speeches which are fundamental rights, and the state has to obtain these fundamental rights, and the state has to provide a protection for these fundamental rights. And it is, yes, it only means traditionally between the state and the person. But I think, and there is the European legislation is also agreeing with me, that the fundamental rights have horizontal effects, which means that between private citizens, it can be called upon. And I think that this is the basis that we can go in and modify these type of contracts to say that, yes, you have your contract, but your contract has to uphold fundamental rights, and your contract cannot legally censor, you cannot limit fundamental rights in this way. So I think that social media has a really big impact on development of democratic debates. And yes, it became the most important forum of these public debates. However, the limits are determined by these contracts. And I don't think that the legitimacy of limiting freedom of expression by this contract are a valid position, because I think that these privatized speech codes are not allowing enough, and these platforms have a major impact on fundamental rights of the users, and therefore there should be a horizontal effect of fundamental rights. And I think it would be necessary to incorporate constitutional guarantees in these private contracts, and this would ensure not only that the platforms are clearly able to see what they should do, what they should censor and not, but it can also ensure that constitutionally protected opinions cannot be removed from one of the most important areas of public discourse. Thank you for your attention.